That's what I'm talking about. 202. McMonagle and Lugauer filling in for Carton and Roberts here on this Summer Friday. We got you for 4.5, if I do my math correctly, all the way till 6:30. And, you know, pretty much ho-hum, disgusting, Marco put it, swoon baseball. I'm not even sure why I'm here. I'll be totally honest with you. I mean, the Yankees are terrible. The Mets are just, it's amazing. The way we maneuver the season around on a daily basis during the baseball season, it feels like every time I come here and we do this show, the Mets and Yankees are somehow on two ships passing in the night. Right now, the Mets are clobbering the Cubs.
Cubbies.
Right, exactly. Marcus Stroman's beating is going to have to wait for a couple days as they get rained out today, but you just know they're going to knock him around the park because they take 2 out of 3 from the Braves, which is a big series. They clobber the Cubs. They're on their way. And meanwhile, the lousy Yankees, who are now only, because of Tampa Bay's win last night and a sweep of the Red Sox, are only 13 games up. How do we live with ourselves? How do we live with ourselves only 13 games up? I mean, I don't know what's going on. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Reds in embarrassing fashion. I mean, just from everything. The starting pitching isn't as good as it used to be. The lineup, although it comes through with big home runs left and right, tie games late in the game, come through and win in extra innings in the middle game, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's the Reds. They're supposed to cream the Reds. Didn't anybody tell the Yankees it's embarrassing? The bullpen blows leads. Then you got Castillo out there last night shutting down the Yankees, making a case that he should be a Yankee or somewhere else because he's a dominant force. Unlike the Yankees, they don't have any dominant pitching. And really right now, Boone's an idiot. Let's not forget that. He's putting in Loizaga in a spot he shouldn't put in. Why doesn't he leave Cortez in the game? This is all I get on Twitter. So I don't know what to say. The Mets are great with their 2.5 lead, and everything is right with the world. And the poor Yankees, who are in the midst of a swoon, who have lost the last 2 meaningless games against the Red Sox after taking the first 2 of a 4-game set, have a down series where they were up 3-0 in the 9th with Clay Holmes on the mound in game 1 of this series, and then get shut out by pretty much the eye of everyone's hopes at the trade deadline in Luis Castillo. And all of that leads to what's wrong with the Yankees? What do they need to do? What prospects are they willing to trade to really bolster this team is where it needs to be, because right now, what we have learned over the last 5 games is this team is nowhere where it needs to be. It's nowhere close. Sure, 60 wins when nobody else has 58. That's nice. Real nice, but it means absolutely nothing because Yankee teams are judged in October, and with the lineup at the back end with Gallo and kind of Falefa and all the bums down there, a manager who has no idea how to manipulate the bullpen, and a starting rotation that is falling apart as we speak. How are we ever going to finish the way we want to finish? And that's where we are on this Friday in July. The Yankees are terrible, and the Mets are high-flying, and it just seems like it's one way or the other every time we do the show, Loogy. So congrats. You're going to have 4.5 hours of being the man on top.
First of all,
that sounded really weird. But let's just say,
well,
you're going to be the man having the fun today, and I'm going to be the one having to defend my terrible 36-game, over 500 baseball team. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
You definitely rather be on top than bottom. First of all, hello.
Oh, unless it's bunk beds.
How
then
are
give
you?
me the top.
How you doing?
Oh, should I have introed you?
You didn't even say hello.
Yeah, I know. I got into the middle of it.
I'm sitting there last night because if you remember the last time we did a Thursday-Friday fill-in, it was that walk-off win against the Astros, and I was sick. And I'm watching the game last night, and I'm going, I'm going to have to sit there next to Big Mac tomorrow after another friggin' walk-off Yankee win. I thought
it was coming.
Even though the Mets had this great win, 2 out of 3 in Atlanta, they smoked the Cubs. We're going to be talking about the Cup Snake. We're going to have a great day. I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, no, the Yankees are going to spoil it. But that didn't happen. And when the Astros finish with the best record in baseball, you will look back and you will say, we lost 2 out of 3 to the Reds at home. And that's the series you will circle because the Reds are awful and you should have swept them. And if it comes down to it, you will look at these 2 games that they lost to the Reds as games you had to have.
Yeah, see, I disagree with you. I won't. I really won't. Because you go through trials and tribulations. I don't know what anybody expected. We had a season last year as Yankee fans, right? And as a station, and anyone who follows baseball, the Yankees had a miserable year. Top to bottom, everything went wrong. They couldn't do anything right. A 2 out of 3 loss to the Cincinnati Reds was par for the course last year. That was not something. This year, it stands out like a sore thumb because this season's been phenomenal. And I'm sorry, you are not going to play great baseball, 750 baseball the entire year. You are going to have ups and downs. And as a manager, you are going to make decisions in the bullpen. They wanted Loizaga to throw last night. It's that simple. They wished it was 9-1. It wasn't. It was 1-1. But and they didn't have Holmes and they didn't have King and they wanted to throw Loizaga. And you know what? If you're in the middle of a pennant race, like the Mets are, like many teams are, and I understand your point about dealing with the Astros for the number one overall seed, and you can make that argument, and I guess it's fair.
Which you have.
And I have.
You have made it.
And I thought playing them is important. But the point is you can make these decisions. You can carry a Gallo. You can carry a Kiner Falefa. You can carry these people. You can make decisions late in games on a 1-1 game against the Reds when you're 13 and 14 games up in the division. You can make a decision that it's more important to get Loizaga in a game, get his feet wet, when you don't have your back end of the bullpen guys ready to go anyway. You can make those decisions. That's where the Yankees are. And they're not going to treat every game like Game 7 of the World Series, and we shouldn't either. A series loss to the Reds is embarrassing. I get it. But you know how many people are tweeting at me and sending me stuff saying, oh, my God, Boone's an idiot. This team's embarrassing. Gallo's got to go. And I agree Gallo's got to go, but he doesn't have to go right this second. And whether or not they're going to trade for Benintendi or whether or not they're going to trade for another bat, we know they are. We know this team is not perfect. We can make all the comparisons to 1998 we want. We know even they needed Shane Spencer to come up and hit 18 home runs in September. No team is perfect. They're not perfect. They're going to need help. And whether they win out until the trade deadline or they lose every game to the trade deadline, Brian Cashman realizes that a hitter hitting 160 with 10 home runs can't be in this lineup come postseason time. He understands that now it's Severino down and Tyone coming off of multiple surgeries over the last couple years is not a guarantee down the stretch. And he understands that they can't rely on guys who haven't thrown innings like this. Cortez has never approached this. He's going to have to come up with some kind of rotation piece, whether it's Castillo or a fifth or fourth guy or whatever, or it's bullpen help to deal with what they're dealing with at the back end of the bullpen this current moment, or it's an outfielder. They're going to go do it. We all know they're going to go do it. So the overreaction to losing to 2 out of 3 to the Cincinnati Reds really boggles my mind. It drives me absolutely up the wall. I mean, they have 62 wins.
To me, this is the first time all year, though, if you're a Yankee fan, you're worried about the pitching. Because Cortez has come back to earth. Right. Tyone stinks. There's issues in the bullpen. There are still trust issues with Garrett Cole.
Right.
So to me, if you're a Yankee fan right now, this is the first time all year where you're like, okay, this has been a strength all year, the rotation and the pen. But now when I'm looking at these results, I'm going, all right, I now have issues. Brian Cashman and the Yankees are always going to look to upgrade. Always. There's always a shopping list from the fans, from the organization. There's a lot of pressure. Cashman knows that. I don't care how great they are. Right. They are always going to go out and make moves. Right. Now, if you want to tell me losing going into the trade deadline helps that, maybe. Yeah, but there's always going to be moves to be made because the pressure to win in New York and when you're the Yankees is so great that Cashman is always going to be working the phones trying to upgrade the team.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that narrative that it's almost good to lose these games to make sure Brian Cashman, who I guess is an idiot. I mean, only put together this team that's been the best team in baseball and still is. But apparently he needs it thrown right in his face. He needs to be slapped around with a couple of losses before the trade deadline to understand things need to happen. We understand that. And there's a couple of sneaky things. I'm not sure Judge can play center field all year. He's a great center fielder. He's impressed me, but he's diving for balls in the out. That's how he broke a rib.
Yep.
Now, I'm not trying to say he'll break a rib or he's brittle. I don't know. But the idea of him covering that much ground, you're seeing now his legs are tired. He's had a bad 15 or 16 games despite the monster home run last night. He's diving for balls, covering all that space in the outfield. If Hicks isn't going to be the guy, you need a center fielder. You need a corner outfielder. You could use a bullpen help. I'm not sure that's at the top of the list. And now it looks like you need a rotation piece. But even to your point, I don't think anybody ever thought. We had this discussion with Evan over and over again, and he would ask Craig, like, "You really think these ERAs are going to stay like this all year?" I don't know anybody who thought Tyone was going to go through the whole year with a sub-2 ERA. I don't know anybody who thought Severino was going to just have a breeze through season after throwing, I don't know, maybe 33 innings over the last 3 years. I don't know anybody who thought Cortez was going to be the clear favorite Cy Young Award winner the entire year. There are going to be dips and dives along the year. And we knew from the beginning that they were going to have to supplement this team. And to your point, They will. Last year was a Band-Aid to fix it and try and cling to any kind of hope. And this year, it's how do we bolster a World Series team? And now Cashman has done fair and foul, good and bad with midseason trades, more bad with the pitching, better with the bats. Although, Gallo exclusive, but, David Justice won a World Series. Rizzo was a great one.
Yep.
There's been, throughout history, he's done a great job with this team. So I look forward to what it is, whether it's Benintendi or not. But the question is, when you're talking about that, is what level of prospects? That's really where we're at now. We understand the Yankees are going to bolster this team. This stupid series against the Reds, whatever. They got a big series against the Red Sox coming up. And really, to me, don't get swept. You're up 13, 15 games on the Red Sox. Don't get swept. Other than that, I'll live with it. But as they start to look at it, are they willing to trade a Volpe for a big piece? Are they willing to trade a Peraza, their second shortstop, who's gotten hot right now, hit a bunch of home runs over the last 12 games, looks like a defensive whiz. They brought back Wade, makes you think now they've supplemented that shortstop position in the minors. Are they capable of moving a guy, Dominguez, who's 100 years away, but was touted as the next Mickey Mantle when they signed him, biggest signing bonus ever to a player of his age? I mean, where are the Yankees? Are they in full-blown go get Castillo or top-of-the-market starting pitcher along with a Benintendi all-star type player, or they supplement little pieces, which is what Cashman has kind of been doing to good teams over the last handful of years?
I think when it comes to dealing prospects, look, you could always run into a James Shields, Fernando Tatis situation, but prospects are prospects. You never know. When you want to trade for a proven commodity, to me, that's where you go, right? You have a guy in the major leagues that's pitched well, you've seen him do well, or an offensive player, a hitter where you've seen him hit well, and you're like, all right, these are guys that are proven. Prospects, we don't know. It's like draft picks in the NFL. They're just picks, or picks in the NBA. We saw it with the Donovan Mitchell thing.
Sure.
They mean nothing.
Yeah,
what do
how
you
many
get
mean
with
something?
those picks?
6, 8?
Correct. And again, I brought up the Shields-Tatis thing.
Yeah.
That burns you. That was a bad one.
Terrible
But for
one.
every one of those, there's 40 where it works out. So when you're the Yankees and you have the pressure to win and you have the pressure like Brian Cashman, a guy who, listen, might be fighting for a contract, right? We don't know. When there's that pressure to build a championship team, to me, you trade the prospects. You trade the prospects. Unless you, even Dominguez, even a guy like that, you trade him. You know what I mean? Because the odds of them getting through all that and being a great player are slim. And if you can bring in a pitcher, a guy that could help you win a championship, like Chapman, when the Cubs won it, you do it. Now that ended up burning them long run, the Cubs, but they won a World Series.
They won a World Series,
and that's all that
matters.
matters.
The Yankees and their fans would trade a Volpe for a championship. I don't think
the fans absolutely will trade the prospects in a heartbeat.
Well, I mean, no, but if you, I don't know.
Oh, they will.
I don't know about Volpe. They made a whole
the Yankees
offseason
want
about
the
Volpe.
The Yankees want Cashman to make moves.
They do.
Because they're used to
You're
that.
bolstering
They're used
a
to the
championship
Yankees getting
team.
players.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's where they are with the Yankees. But look, I mean, to me, it's just the overreaction after a tough series loss. I mean, they're right there with every game. I know they're supposed to blow out the Reds. Castillo is one of the best pitchers in baseball. He shut them down. They had no back end of the bullpen, and they lost a tough game in extra innings. They came back from 4-1 down and scored 3 runs in the 8th inning. I mean,
how great has Carpenter been, by the way? Unbelievable. How do you sit this guy at any point? How do you sit? He's got to play every single night. You got to ride the wave here.
He wasn't great defensively. He made one nice play up against the wall at the early part of the game, and
Big deal. He's hitting bombs.
I agree, but he didn't go home on an obvious, throw the ball home on a sacrifice fly. He doesn't cut a ball off in the gap in extra innings that leads to a runner in scoring position. I don't think they love playing him there, but the fact of the matter is you can't have a guy on the bench hitting a home run in every other game he plays while you have Joey Gallo hitting 135. I mean, you just can't. It hasn't hurt them yet. And that's really what I want to preach patience for the one thing that I don't think Yankee fans understand. It is not all-out war to beat the Cincinnati Reds. It sucks. It's a little embarrassing. It seems like, geez, this great team still losing to the Reds. They're not all out to beat the Reds. You don't have to be. You don't have to be all out to get your lineup in order on July 15th when you're up 13 games. You don't have to make sure Joey Gallo doesn't play. It's getting to that time, and the Yankees will get there. But it's just, the reaction, the overreaction. It's about putting this team together for a postseason run. And who cares if they win 116 games or 103 games? I mean, unless you're telling me the Astros win 104. Right, that's where you're at. The Astros are the other dominant team in the American League. It seems like those two teams have separated themselves against everybody else. But I mean, the overreaction to a couple of bad losses, it's hard to take.
Yeah, now, but if they get swept this weekend, it'll be full-blown panic on Monday.
Full-blown panic, no doubt.
If you get swept because it's the Red Sox, coming off 2 out of 3 losses to the Reds, if the Red Sox come here to the Bronx, a not that great Red Sox team, and they sweep you, it'll be full-blown panic. right into the All-Star break, and then coming right out of it, you got the 2 games with Houston, and then there's that team from Queens.
Oh,
that
right.
is on the schedule.
Yes.
So Yankee fans will be in. They'll have a couple days where they're sitting there. They won't be seeing their guys in the All-Star, the Home Run Derby. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
And there will be 3 days to mull it over, and panic for those 3 days will be setting in if they get swept.
Yeah, look, well, always listen, and it's better to play well. No one's saying I'm glad they're losing. I don't care they're losing, but the idea that these games, it's the Cincinnati Reds, and we overreact to it because a bad team came into the Bronx and won a couple games. So suddenly it's like, well, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. We've known that forever. This team has never been perfect. So that's where the Yankees are. They're ready. They're like, we joke about it's nice to have a pennant race with the Mets, and the Yankees are so far ahead. The Yankees are still so far ahead that these games ultimately don't matter. We're focused on one thing as a Yankee fan group. One thing. How do you bolster this team for a postseason run? Because they failed over and over again since 2009. So how do they do it? So we'll get into that. Want your Yankee fan calls. Are you pissed off they lost to the Reds? Are you just like me? Okay. It wasn't their best weekend. They got a big, a couple of days, should I say, series. They got a big weekend coming up against the Red Sox. To me, just don't lose all 3. You'll be fine. But where are you? How upset with you with the Yankees? What do you think the move should be? Benintendi, is that something who, if he doesn't get vaccinated, is that something you wouldn't consider, going out and making a trade for? It's an interesting question. I still think if he's told you're going to go be a Yankee and you're going to compete for a World Series, I'd be really surprised if he's not going to.
Yeah, it's one thing when you're
think about and consider getting the.
Yeah, it's one thing when
vaccine.
you're playing on the Royals. Although I shouldn't talk as a Met fan, but if you have a chance, like you said, to play on the Yankees, to be a Yankee, to have a chance at the World Series, you'll do it. Listen, the trade makes more sense for the Mets grabbing them because the only time we're going to see the Blue Jays is in the World Series. The Yankees obviously will play the Blue Jays and be in Toronto a couple more times or a couple more games, and then could see them in the postseason, obviously, before the World Series. So it makes more sense for the Mets. But yeah, I think if you're a guy like Benintendi and you could go to a contender. And look, I understand it's a whole other thing with the vaccination, but like if you have an opportunity to play in the postseason, you're going to take it. Yeah, I agree.
All right. That's where we are. Mets rained out, obviously, but they're going to trounce the Cubs at some point. Don't worry about it. Yankees are in just complete swoon. I mean, I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, I came in here. BT is telling me how hot it is in Orlando in July. I'm 2 weeks away from that. It's a rough time for me right now. I'm looking forward to Disney, but I understand how hot it's going to be.
And it's going to rain every 25 minutes,
I mean, just the lights in here, talking about the Yankees, I'm sweating. So can you imagine me walking around Disney? And then plus the Yankees, they're terrible. So it's a rough time for me. I hope you can just see me through the show here. I could really use your help. A kind ear. I want you to just be there for me like I'm there for you every day.
You are, but no shot I'm going to be.
I defend you and fight for you over and over again while others in this chair and in that seat over there constantly throw jabs at you. I'm in there.
You make it worse, by the way. Anytime you defend me, it ends up, I know your heart's in the right place, but it makes it worse.
Are the Knicks going to get Mitchell? That's also on the table. No.
They're not going to, bro.
All right, well, let's save it. Now we start with baseball. No. That pretty much goes against what everybody else thinks. Look at you out here with hot takes. 877-337-6666. McMonigal and Lugauer filling in for Carton and Roberts. We got you all the way till 6:30 in Yankee baseball right here on The Fan.